Bang. All right, we're back. Roast and Toast Baseball Radio,
So back.
episode 9, I think.
Episode 9.
Yeah.
Episode 9, all right. We have a new guy in here today, Brandon Richmond. How about you introduce yourself a little bit, buddy?
Yep. So I played baseball at McDaniel with Connor, Evan, and Will for 4 years. I was a pitcher there, big Orioles fan. Guess there's not really much else. Baseball podcast. So
Yeah. All right, let's get right into it. So the first topic of the night is about the White Sox. They are currently 3-20. They're really, really bad. And I'm a little bit worried about the future of the Chicago White Sox in Chicago in particular. They just released stadium renderings at the beginning of the season. Don't think Chicago really wants to build a new stadium unless Jerry Reinsdorf is paying for it. And I'm a little concerned that he's going to pull a Oakland A's John Fisher and try and move the team out of Chicago. Any thoughts on this?
So yeah, I mean the team has been flirting with like moving to I believe it's called the South Loop in the south side of Chicago. So I know also they're trying to move Soldier Field as well, as that's just that's old and dilapidated. So they're trying to move, I believe, to the South Loop. But yeah, there is an issue with like I think the city councils, they don't really want they don't want people to have to like the taxpayers have to pay for it. And I don't think Jerry Reinsdorf is going to want to foot the bill for that. So yeah, I kind of I don't know. I don't see them leaving Chicago, as it's like Jerry Reinsdorf's been there. He's been like the GM since like I think 1981. Only won one playoff series, by the way, and since 1981. Just wanted to put that out there. I have a lot to say about Jerry Reinsdorf, but so that's a big issue, obviously, because a guaranteed rate field, I think they have a lease there until 2028. So even if they wanted to move, they have to wait 4 more years. But I think there's a little bit different scenario with the White Sox and the A's. I think there's a little bit more. I think the ownership is more interested in staying in Chicago than obviously John Fisher is interested in staying in Oakland. But yeah, that's my take on it right now.
Anyone else?
Jerry Reinsdorf has been a poor owner for not just the White Sox, but for the Bulls for many, many years. It's similar to the being pissed off at the fans. Why aren't fans coming to games? Why aren't fans here? Hey, guess what? You're not building a ball club around it. Like, I know they were very good in 19 and 20 and 21. But, I mean, you can even say the same case with the A's we talked about. It's just they had talent. They're getting rid of some talent, drafting poorly. They're on pace for they're 3-20 right now. It's just it's not a good spot they're in. It's the attendance. I was reading how low it is. They had 2 million less fans than the Dodgers and Yankees last year, and 1 million less than their counterpart, the Cubs. They're not improving. They're off to, as I said before, a horrific start. And the Bulls fans aren't happy either. And I was going to make Connor made a good point about the new stadium. The Bears stadium that they just made a second rendering today for a new stadium is going to take money out of the taxpayers' dollars. Fans aren't going to be happy if they see another ball club not spending money on players, not spending money on anything to help the organization, and they're just expecting more taxpayer money from this, especially with the same city dealing with this twice. So it's not a good situation right now.
Yeah, I'll just talk about the team really, like just Chicago, like the team in general. They're in a little like phase where they try to like rebuild. They also try to, go get guys and stuff like that. It just seems like the culture there sucks really is what it is. And like they can't develop pitchers because I mean we've seen Giolito. I mean he still sucks anyways, but Ronaldo Lopez, we've seen him, like Michael Kopech, like these are guys like I don't know. They just seem in Eloy Jimenez, or I mean, he can't stay healthy to save his life. Like they have issues there. It's kind of like the Mets somehow. Like they're injured every year, right? Like it's got to be something like strength and training guy. I don't know. Like they got to have something where that like the culture isn't there. So I don't know.
yeah, to Finch's point, like look at a guy like Ronaldo Lopez struggles with the White Sox. They don't put him in the rotation really. Goes to the Braves and becomes like an ace. I know it's early in the year, but yeah, I just remember seeing the White Sox play a couple years ago, and it just seemed like that individual mentality. Definitely not playing for the team, and maybe that started with La Russa, but they have a long way to go to figure this thing out.
Yeah, I just can I, if I for 1 second, I just want to like expand this to like a historical
Go for it.
factor. Like if you look at the White Sox as a franchise, I believe they established in 1901, so that's 100 basically 124 years ago. They have been to the playoffs approximately 11 times in 124 seasons. Think about that. And they've won, I've already said it one time, they won one playoff series since 1981. That's multiple generations of people who have just
Never
barely
seen
ever
That
seen
can't
it.
playoffs.
be true. That can't
One
be
playoff
true.
series
No,
since
they won the World
1981.
Series in 2005. That means they had to
Yeah.
win 3 playoffs.
That was that year.
I know, well, like one, like yeah, I mean, like one season where they've won a playoff series. That's what I meant. I
Okay,
misworded
okay,
it. But
okay.
yeah, they won obviously they won World Series, but they've had one series, one season of excellence in since 81 when Reinsdorf became the owner, actually when he became like full stake owner of the White Sox. But one season where they have had excellence, and it just seems like they are just they do such a bad job of player development. The scouting department is a shambles. Like they bring in talent. That 2021 team had immense talent on it from top to bottom. They have great pitching. They had a good bullpen. They had a good lineup, and then I just don't understand how it could break down that fast. Where like the next 2 seasons after 21, I think they won 61 games last year, 101 losses.
Yeah.
It blows my mind. And
It's a thing in sports, man. Like there's losing franchises and there's
yeah,
winning franchises. Me and Richmond always talk about it. Like there's teams that you can literally get any player you want and they will still find a way to lose just because
yeah,
that's how their franchise is. And like there's people that like franchises that do it right. Like just bring up other sports. Like for example, the Warriors, they've done it right. Like there's franchises that it doesn't matter who they have, like they know how to
yeah.
develop, they know how to
You can
like
make
do
an
that.
argument though that the Warriors were one of those losing franchises. They just got an owner and a GM in there that changed
Right.
the culture.
Yeah.
I
And
think
that's
there's a
what I'm
amount of
saying.
luck
That's what like
involved as
that was
well.
gonna what I was
It's
gonna
all
bring
it's
up
all
as a
luck.
GM. Yeah.
Yeah, I think there's some. I mean, obviously, I think it comes down to a little bit of luck and a little bit of talent in the like player development. Where like you could say, oh, I mean the Jerry Reinsdorf is only notable as as an owner because he got lucky with Michael Jordan at 3 and 84. With if he took oh I'm blanking on the player
Tim
who
Bowie.
had two. Yeah, yeah. If he took him, he'd be a nobody. No one would know who Jerry Reinsdorf is. And by the way, he bought the Bulls or he became a stake owner of the Bulls in 85 for $9 million. He's that franchise was like billions of
Yeah.
dollars now. So I don't want everyone to hear excuse for any billionaire owner who has these two, not one, two franchises worth over $1 billion. Why can't you sign premium free agents? Why can't you bring in talent? Why can't you bring in good, like positive people in the front office? Like it
Yeah.
boggles my mind. Why can't you do these things when you have immense amount of money to use? Like it boggles my mind. I don't
He's
understand.
cheap. He's cheap. I
And
mean,
it yeah.
he didn't even want to restructure Scottie Pippen's contract.
No,
He didn't
yeah,
want to do it.
yeah.
But
The
it's
largest free
crazy.
agent signing he made was Andrew Benintendi for $75 million, who
Yeah.
Yeah.
sucks. Sorry,
Yeah.
Andrew Benintendi, you're washed, buddy.
I hear he's got a good
But
arm in the outfield though.
I was gonna say it's crazy how like these teams are worth so much. Like even the Washington Commanders, who what have they done in that team? They sold for $7 billion. Like these franchises are worth so much money. Just to have owners that seemingly don't care is just mind-boggling to me.
And lastly, the 2005 White Sox kind of got lucky themselves. Like that was a great run. They didn't really have that much. I mean, it was a talented group, but I mean, for a World Series out of that squad, I mean, Scott Podsednik was
I was
their
about to
leadoff
say that.
hitter. Like, come
He
on.
was a baller that year.
He was a
Yeah.
stud, man.
Um,
Joe
let's,
Creedy.
let's move on to the next topic. That's about the Astros. Uh, they're 10 games under 500. Is it time to panic?
Yeah.
Oh my.
Well,
No,
I
it's
wouldn't say
not. It is not.
Oh, Fidge is
but
not.
here's my take. I think they should panic about the injuries. I think their pitching is a problem. I think the guys they're throwing right now is an issue. They right now their rotation injuries are pretty much almost starting rotation. It's Lance McCullers is still hurt. He's been hurt since like 2021. Every year he's hurt. Framber Valdez is hurt. He knows how long he'll be long for. Christian Javier just got hurt too. They bring up a top prospect in the panic move. He's not doing great. They're getting blocked by the Cubs again right now. I don't think it's major panic issues, but guys like Alex Bregman hitting 200 this year with no home runs. I mean, you're almost a month in, and some guys who are paying a lot of money over these years. I know Altuve still got it, even though he's getting up in age, but I think you got to worry a little bit personally.
I don't. I don't know. We got to rephrase the question because it's like they're not going to win 100 games at this point. I'm not saying they're going to win 100 games, but they're still going to go over 500. The one stat, like, it's not even about like hitting or the injuries have been a problem, but it's just the bullpen, man. They have 6 blown saves already.
Yeah,
At this point in the season, you should have one or two probably. I mean, if like what they should have with who they have, Josh Hader, Presley, and Abreu, and they two of them have an 8 ERA right now. So realistically, they probably should be like what 12 and whatever. Like they should be close to 500. So I mean, they should probably turn it around. And then I was also reading, I mean, I think they've kind of their hitting wise, they've kind of been more of bad luck as of been kind of shitty. I think it's been more of bad luck looking at their lineup because a lot of guys do have good averages. I mean, Abreu's kind of washed, but that's kind of it. So
Guy sucks.
the guy
yeah,
stinks.
he's bad, but
Hey, White Sox, White Sox background.
What do the
Yeah.
Astros need to do to make the playoffs?
I think they just need to ride the storm out. It's early in the season as well. I mean, the Phillies the last 2 years have been 5+ games under 500 the first up until like as late as June, and then they what they've done in the playoffs. I mean, this is a team that has pedigree. As much as I hate to say it, like they have it. Like Finch was talking about franchises that seem like they have that it factor, and this is a team that has it. Like they still have that core that's still there, and I think they just need to ride this storm out. Like they still have a lot of talent. They still have a lot of injuries as well. That when those guys get healthy and come back, I think there's going to be a big turnaround. And like you said, like it's early, like it's small sample size where those unlucky teams like that hurts early, but it always seems to come out in the wash late in the season, June, July. I would be surprised if this team isn't around 500 or even fighting for the first place in the AL West.
Yeah, I definitely agree with all three of your points. I do think they're in trouble. Texas is a powerhouse. They're hurt too. They're going to get healthy. Seattle's rotation is one of the best in baseball. If they add a hitter or two, they're dangerous. Um, and I mean, yeah, Houston will figure it out. But like, what do you do with a guy like Verlander at the deadline if you're not contending? Do you trade him? Do you get prospects? Like their lineup's solid. It's not amazing. Their bullpen's pretty good. But their rotation right now is a disaster. Um, it's really bad. So it'll be interesting to see what they do. And I think their biggest panic is Hunter Brown. I know they were expecting a lot out of him, and he's been absolutely terrible.
Not as bad as Jose Abreu, but yeah, he's been bad.
Pretty
It's almost
close.
as bad as Jose Abreu.
Two and a
Yeah.
half whip and a 9 ERA.
It's
That's
still
pretty
early though
bad.
for Hunter Brown. I think he's got the stuff to improve though. I mean, he
yeah,
pitched
that's
well.
another thing too. Like, I mean, what is he going to finish with an 8 all year? I mean, I'm sure he'll get it. Like,
Yeah,
I'm
anything's
sure
a
he'll bring it
possibility.
down. Even
Yeah,
France
he'll
too.
figure
Like,
it out.
yeah,
It
So
always
Hey,
seems like
Josh,
they've done a
Josh,
good job doing that.
I'll say Josh Hader blew first 4 saves in double figures, I'm pretty sure.
Mm.
So it's like you say, it's a very long season, but
they
you
got to
paid
start. They got to
$95
start
million.
going now. Yeah, they got to start going now. All right, let's move on to the next topic, and that has to do with a couple of AL East players. Um, so Aaron Judge has been off to a slow start. There's been reports of him saying that his toe is never going to be the same again, and that's ruined some athletes' careers. And then there is Vladimir Guerrero, who Jr., not his dad. Since September of 22, he has the eighth lowest WAR of any player with 800 or more plate appearances, which is a pretty damning stat. I know he plays first base, but who are
Not
you
very
more
well.
worried about?
Vladdy.
Agreed.
I was looking at his numbers and just the drop off so far since 2021, and it's kind of crazy. I mean, he's so young. He's just turned 25, but like, if you listen to these stats from 2021, 21, he was a breakout year. He had 311 average, 41 home runs, 111 RBIs. 22, he had 32 home runs, 97 RBIs. And then in 2023, he had a 267 average, 26 home runs, and 94 RBIs. So far, based on what we've seen so far, he's expected to have even lower than that. Like his projections are even lower than that. I don't know. It's weird. He's not the same guy, it seems, hitting as he was a few years ago.
I think it has something to do with pitchers figuring him out. I think the 21 season, like that was his. I think that was his like first season where he played the whole year. And I think I think there's like a fallacy in MLB where you have these big name players come up, these young players where they have all this steam, they have all this hype, and they come up and they play well for a year or two. And I mean, for him, it was 3 years. I mean, you can count the last year. I think it was a pretty successful year overall. Obviously not as good as a 21 year, but I think the pitchers, as we get these like StatCast and all these different tools where we can see what players struggle at, what their tendencies are, like where their holes in the swing are, I think that's really been a hindrance for him. I think pitchers have really figured him out, whatever it may be, and he's going to have to either adjust or I don't know. He's going to have to find a day job because he's been falling off a cliff since 21. Obviously, the talent's still there, but he's got to figure something out. And it's early. Again, it's early, but
Yeah, in recent memory, he's got to be one of the most hyped hitting prospects from just a hit perspective. I just remember seeing videos of him hitting the ball out of the park off of a tee, and like we've seen anything but that. And honestly, this year his launch angle is down, his sweet spot percentage is down, and his barrel rate is down. And from a guy that power has been declining over the years, to see that again this year, like if I'm a Blue Jays fan, I'm concerned.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, going to that point, I look at it more of like a just I'm always looking at it just from what it is. Like some guys go through slumps. Like if you look at his swing, I mean, if you've watched Vladdy like in a home run derby or something, like he's pretty quick to the ball, right? Like he just looks long right now. Like he's got to figure shit out. Like some guys go through that, like I'm sure he'll figure it out at some point this year. Like it just looks a little loopy to swing. If you kind of I like to look at like the breakdowns of guys' swing. So it's like I don't know. I think he'll figure it out. I always was one. I think he still needs to lose weight, man. Honestly, I think that's a little bit of it too. I always thought he's like a little out of shape, but I mean, in 21 he still was kind of the same. But it looks like he's been kind of getting out of shape more and more each year. So I think that's something to look at too with him. But
Mm.
Yeah, I think he's still a good player, but I just think you can't put him in that top tier of guys with like Olson and Freeman and Will Alonso. But
Yeah.
How about Josh Naylor?
Josh
Josh
Naylor's a
Naylor,
stud,
another
dude.
one. Yeah,
Yeah.
dude's a freak.
That
He's
guy's a
so
stud,
good.
man.
But
he
I love
hits.
that guy.
it
He's one of
sounds
my
like you
favorite players right
guys
now.
aren't really worried about Aaron Judge at all. Is that right?
Oh, I completely yeah, I mean I'm with you, Will. I think that injury is an issue. Like the fact that even like a guy like usually you don't see players come out and specifically say like this will hinder me or like usually it's like it's just status quo. Like, I'll get out there, I'll work hard and get back to the player I was. For a player to come out, especially a judge's like stature, right? For a player for him to come out and specifically say like I may never be the same player again. I'm not sure the exact quote, but something along those lines, like that kind of worries me for him in the future. Like we've seen him at the highest of highs, and now like he's obviously struggled. And I watched him play last 2 nights as he's played against Oakland, and it just looks like it does look like he's a little bit slower to the ball. Whatever the case is, I don't know exactly, but he, he's gonna have to figure something out. I don't know.
Do you think if he played in
Well,
Philly, he would have got a standing ovation by now, Schnabel,
Yeah,
to get it turned around?
did you see
no,
he got booed on his bobblehead night? 0 for 4 with like 3 Ks and he got booed. But
Will already knows how I feel about that, but no, I think he's okay. Like maybe they should rest him if this is a problem. See, like I mean,
mm,
something rest him for a bit, and then get him right. Like
yeah.
or maybe
Far
move
as
him in the lineup. I don't
as
know.
far as what I know, the toe thing, he said it's never gonna go away. Like this is something that he's gonna have to deal with for the rest of his
Mm.
career.
That's worrisome though, because like I don't know if you guys have ever dealt with like a toe issue while you're trying to like hit, like especially on that. I don't know if it's left or right. Do you know if
it's
exactly?
left. It's left
It's left.
foot. It's
So
left foot.
it's on that foot where you're put your that's your the foot you're getting down to swing, like right before the ball's coming in, you're putting that foot down with some force. And the fact that that's the toe, like that's kind of worrisome for me. I mean, I know there's a lot of things you can probably do to remedy, but fact that he even said like this is gonna hinder me for the rest of the career, that's kind of worrisome. And I hope he can get back to him being that, MVP caliber player, but we'll see. He hasn't had the numbers yet.
He did homer today.
yeah, he did homer, and I think a guy of that size, once you get into your 30s, you're not going to play 162 games.
Yeah.
I mean, you'll be lucky to get 130, maybe 140, and like
That's a good
if he
point.
plays that, he's still going to hit 40 home runs in Yankee Stadium.
Yeah.
He can flick the ball out of that stadium.
You're right. You're right. I agree. So I don't know what the Yankees are planning to do, but for me, if I'm the Yankees, if I'm Brian Cashman, I'm looking at this as from a roster building perspective. I want to move Aaron Judge to first base. That's what I want to do next year. Rizzo, sorry, buddy, you're gone next year. I want to move Aaron Judge to first base, prolong his career, try and get him off his feet a little bit more and see what he can do over there rather than spend
Yeah.
him in center field. Center field. He's playing center field as like a
Yeah, I don't.
seven person.
That's the
A little
thing about the
crazy.
Yankees roster breakdown. It's like having Stanton that you have to DH because of liability in the outfield. It could just further mend Judge's injury even more, just having him out there on his feet so much. So that's not a bad idea at all, Will, to have him like possibly as Mr. GM will to move him to first base.
Or just DH him and get rid of Stan. Honestly,
Yeah.
dude can't run a bases, so
Yeah.
you got to hit
Yeah.
a triple for him to score
I
from
mean, yeah.
third. So
I don't know
Maybe
who's taking Stanton at this point.
no one's taking
Yeah.
it.
No
I mean,
one-
They're gonna have
maybe
to eat that
hey, the
contract.
Marlins. I think the Marlins will take him back.
Well,
maybe the
also
KBO.
with that too, you can't with Judge if you're moving him permanently to DH. You have to figure that they're going to try and sign Juan Soto. Juan Soto eventually is going to be a DH.
Hmm. Yeah, because
I don't know. They
I
got a
mean,
lot of
maybe
decisions.
one of those two is gonna have to play first base, I think, unless they go and grab somebody in like a big fish in the free agency. But I don't know.
Mhm.
I mean, that's a great point you make about him moving to first. I mean, it would obviously either playing first or DH would obviously put a lot less stress on that toe. But I don't know if they're in a situation this season like they have some huge contracts that you don't want those guys to just sit and rot on the bench.
Yeah,
Uh, but yeah, after this season, there's going to be some changes that made like without a doubt.
yeah, I agree. All right, so this is our next question. I know it's going to get a little controversial, but a couple teams coming off struggling bad last seasons. The New York Mets and the Cleveland Guardians. The Guardians are off to an extremely good start, although their starting pitching has been a little bit suspect, but their hitting has been off the charts compared to the last 3 or 4 seasons. Meanwhile, the Mets obviously were a huge disappointment last year. They got off to an extremely slow start, and they've been 13-6 ever since that 0-5 start. What team are you buying into more?
I
Well, we
don't.
already know half your guys' answers. We know you like the Mets, but um, if it has to be Guardians, you can't say Mets because look at it just based off the divisions. You cannot say what are the Mets going to do? They're going to get third in the division. That's their ceiling. Are they going to beat the Braves and Phillies out? I don't know about that one. Like I don't think unless the Braves keep like maybe get more injuries. I think that's their only chance if the Phillies and Braves kind of keep getting injured throughout the year. But I don't think they can compete with them even if they're at their best. And then if you look at the Guardians, how that's already panning out that division. I mean, I think the Twins are obviously a little slow start, but they've been horrid. Tigers, I think, will fall apart, and the Royals will be there, but that's really all they have to contend with. So I think they already have that division in the bag if they kind of keep going with it.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's pretty easy. I mean, I'm trying to put my biases away for this. I mean, I think the Mets can compete this season, of course. Like they have I mean, they're a pretty good team overall. But I think just as like a divisional breakdown, AL East or AL Central, excuse me, is obviously easier. Even though you do see the rise of Detroit and Kansas City early on, can they keep that up? I'm not sure. But obviously, right now you have a bunch of teams in that division that can compete for the title. But I just think if you look roster to roster, like the Guardians team they're pretty nasty. And I mean they're missing a couple pitchers with injuries. And I'm wondering I don't know what's going on with Gavin Williams. I know he pitched a little bit last year and he had a lot of success. But I'm guessing he's going to come up eventually. I think he probably had a couple starts already. I'm not exactly sure on that,
Hmm.
but they have some good arms. I mean, Allen, Bibby, and Tristan McKenzie, I think all are, plus arms, but it is early. So you see them with the little bit of inflated ERA, and that's easy to get back down. And I think they all have the arm talent to do so. And looking at the lineup, they have very few holes in that lineup, top to bottom. Like it's just it's one of the best in the AL. Maybe even in the entire league, like just top to bottom, they have so much talent. Um, but I mean, that's on the Mets standpoint though. Like it's just, I feel like it's an aging team. I know they have a few guys coming up, younger guys, but like you see, Alvarez just got hurt. That's gonna hurt them for the next couple weeks. And I don't know. It's just it's the two divisions. That's where I'm really stuck on. If the Mets were flip flopped in division, then I'd probably be the other way around. But it's going to be really difficult for them to compete with the Braves and the Phillies if they can stay healthy.
My biggest worry with the Mets right now, as much as I've been believing and much how fun it is, it's the fact that our starting pitchers have just not gone deep in games. There's a very big walk problem. If I'm correct, it's about 5 out of the first 24 games that pitchers have gone into the sixth inning, starting pitchers, which is just a major tax to the bullpen so early on. I don't know. I've made the point forever the fact that if the Mets were in the NL Central, they'd be a completely different team. But AL Central, sorry. But I mean, the Guardians are a really good team. Right now, they're seventh in MLB in their average. Even though with their pitching hasn't been seemingly the top, they're still third in MLB with ERA. They're still just competing amongst their competition. It's all the competition based. They're playing AL Central teams who are lacking production as the Twins. They're lacking hitting. They've played them and just have been able to win games that they can. So I think that they are one of these teams that they can make their difference. But
Richmond?
Yeah, I'd say from the other side, I'd buy more into the Mets playing true to like who they are. I think the Guardians, sorry, are going to regress back to who they are as well. I think they're going to both finish in that low 80 wins total. So like I'm not really buying into either, but I think the Mets are playing more true to who they are. Like I think the Guardians just got off to a hot start. I think they're a good team, but to all your points, I think they play in such a weak division that once they start playing other teams, and if they do make the playoffs, I think they're going to get smoked. I think they have some decent pitching, some solid hitters in Naylor and Ramirez, but I mean, I'm buying more into like the Mets. If they can acquire a few pieces, I know the rotation's iffy, but if they can get some guys, I mean, I know it's a tougher division. I'd like them more.
I mean, I have some thoughts. I am biased, right? I am a big Mets fan, but I'm not really that convinced that Philly is that much better than the Mets, if not better at all,
I
to be
agree.
frank.
Huh.
At least at full strength. We don't have Senga. Alvarez is obviously gone for a little bit. One injury to the Phillies pitching staff and could all come crumbling down. But
And you got
that's
Taiwan
just
Walker
it.
waiting in the wings, man. That guy's a stud.
I mean, I'm not gonna like crap on Taiwan. He was a really good pitcher for the Mets. It's just I've seen these points um, all over the place. Especially, I was reading an article from Ken Rosenthal, and a lot of them keep bringing up how the Mets don't have enough pitching. But I don't really see that much of a difference between this year's pitching staff and 2022's pitching staff, except the fact that uh, Chris Bassett gave them a little bit more length than the rest of the guys are getting right now. I mean, DeGrom and Scherzer only pitched 33 games combined in 2022, and we're relying on David Peterson, uh, Carlos Carrasco, and Taiwan Walker and Chris Bassett. I don't
Yeah.
really think that's that much better of a rotation than what the Mets are throwing out there right now.
I mean, even if you're comparing the Phillies and the Mets rotation, I'm just looking at the Mets rotation right now. Even if you add McGill back
Yeah.
when he gets healthy, like you're still looking at Severino, Quintana, Manea, like as your and then McGill, I guess as your top four. And I'm
McGill's
sorry,
not in
but
the top four.
who?
McGill would not be in the top four.
Yeah.
Who's
He's
four
gone.
Who is
then?
Hauser? I guess Hauser would be in the four, even though he has an 80
No,
already.
those guys are not going to be in the
Who,
five. In the
Buto?
Buto.
Buto, yeah.
I mean, he's not bad, but I'm just looking. I mean, Philly's top three like blows them out of the water. I'm sorry.
Well, yeah, Wheeler and Nola definitely blow those guys out of the water.
And he's been incredible last. I mean, he was a little bit down last year, but when he's healthy, like he's been sub 3 ERA guy. And Christopher Sanchez has really performed like second half of last year into this year. I know he's not a top arm guy, but I mean, just based off the two starting rotations, I know I'm a little bit biased. I'm trying to cool it down, but I just I'm just trying to see like the differences here. I just feel like
Well, yeah,
Katana's
to your point
35
though,
now.
Will, you said you see no difference between the rotation from this year and last year. Then what's going to
No,
be the
from
difference
this
in?
year and 2022, I don't see that big.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
last year.
Yeah, we don't want to talk about last year.
Last year was a mess.
No, 2020. I mean, I definitely take the 2022. I think I would still take them over this, but I mean, it's early too. Like but I don't know. Like, what else are you gonna get out of Severino and Quintana? I know Quintana's been solid the last few years, but he is aging. He's 35 now.
Yeah.
How much more does he have to offer, and how healthy can he be? Sean Mania, he's also I mean, he's a former A guy. I love the guy as an arm, but he's defective at best. He can be consistent, but and then got Hauser, who's also like he. I mean, he's got some good stuff, but he hasn't pitched up to I guess up to his potential yet. And I don't know. I hope for them as for you guys as Mets fans, like I hope they can figure something out. But it just doesn't seem like it's a compatible start like five rotation.
Yeah.
Let me ask you, Will, what do you think? What do you think the Mets ceiling is win-wise this year? What's the ceiling for them?
I think the ceiling for the Mets win-wise is around 87 to 88 wins.
I was gonna say 88 wins ceiling.
And they're currently on pace for that. But the thing, like I listen to a lot of Mets stuff, right? So what I hear is that McGill, um, Hauser, these are guys that aren't going to be in the rotation as long as guys like Severino and Quintana stay healthy. If Senga comes back, if they call
Oh
up
yes, okay.
Christian Scott, who's a top 100 prospect,
Okay.
they're going to be pushed out of the rotation.
Yeah, I completely forgot about
Yeah.
Singo in the conversation. Yeah, he'll be a big factor when he comes back. Yeah, that's a good point. I don't know how good Scott is, but you say he's a top 100. He can definitely move the needle, and then obviously Senga, we know how good he can be. That's a good point. That's a good point you make.
But we only have about 5 more minutes left. I wanted to leave that for some early MVP talk. So who are you guys looking at as your early MVP contenders? I'm going to start with Richmond because you were a little bit quiet at the end of that segment.
Yeah, obviously the clear-cut favorite out of the AL right now is probably Soto. Um, I'm gonna say that I think it's either gonna be I won't be biased. I'll say either Bobby Witt or Gunner. Um,
I was going
I
to say
mean,
Gunner.
they both play
Yeah.
premier positions. Gunner today 3 for 3. I think he's hitting 333 now. Has 8 home runs at short, playing an elite defensive shortstop, 5 steals. I mean, it's so early in the year to tell. Like one guy goes down, like it's really up in the air. In the NL, I mean, it's hard to go against Betts or Acuna. I know Acuna's power numbers aren't there yet, but I'm sure they'll come. Um, Otani's killing the ball. I just so early to tell. Somebody's going to get hurt, and it'll open it up a little bit.
Demetrius?
Yeah, I'm big on Gunnar. I mean, the fact that Gunnar right now has 21 RBIs at a leadoff spot this year, hitting over 1,000 OPS is just disgusting. He's such a young player too, and just the production you're seeing out of this young Orioles lineup is unreal. Mike Trout is having a year and a half right now. 10 home runs, 13 RBIs. Almost all of his RBIs are on home runs, but that just shows the lack of production from the Angels lineup. But he's still having 919 OPS. He's just hitting the ball so well. And agreeing with Brandon, just Mookie is just playing out of his mind as well. It's just you can't stop this guy. Him and Gunnar both having 21 RBIs at a leadoff spot is just shows the production both teams are putting in and just them consistently hitting the ball. It's crazy.
Finch?
Yeah, I mean, you already know it's going to be Soto, so we don't have to go past that. It's just sorry. I mean, it's Soto. I mean, I'll give a sleeper for the NL. We kind of talked about it in the group chat, but like CJ Abrams, I wasn't high on him. Obviously, he's not going to win it, I don't think. Like, it's just a guy to look out for. It's early. Um, I mean, he's hitting 320 right now. He only has 4 steals. I think he could steal more bags. Honestly, that would kind of get him into the conversation a little bit more. He's actually hitting for some pop this year. 6 home runs already for him out of the leadoff spot as well. So like, yeah, I mean, I was pretty low on him last year, but like he was a young guy. He's stepped it up a lot this year. So yeah, that's kind of one of. But other guys you guys kind of named obviously will be there. I think for me it would be Mike Trout as well up there. So
CJ Abrams still is only 23 years old, so
yeah, people were hard on him too. Like I feel like he didn't really
You bet
get
a
that
bet.
many minor league games. So it's like last year was just him kind of learning how to play short in the bigs, honestly. So he's been real good this year.
Did he come straight from high school or was he in college?
I think he got drafted out of high school.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
He only played like 80 minor league games, and that's not even that
Yeah,
much really nowadays. Yeah.
That's crazy.
I think we
Schnabel, who do
missed.
you have?
I think we missed one guy, and that's Shohei Ohtani. He's been big in the news lately. First in average, first in OPS, 6 home runs. I know only 14 RBI, but that's not really his fault. I mean, he's been just ripping the cover off the ball. He hit one, I think 450 plus feet earlier today or either yesterday. But he's a monster, and it's going to be interesting to see how he does in MVP voting without his arm, obviously.
Mhm.
And I could only imagine what he'd be doing if if he was healthy and could pitch while putting up these type of numbers. Like numbers he's putting up right now are just absurd. He is I can't even like compare him to anybody. He's like he's a unicorn. He's one of these once in a lifetime talents, and I love to be able to watch him play. It's truly it's a blessing to watch the guys like him and Trout, and it's some of the guys you named as well, just to be able to play in their prime. It's incredible.
Anyone
Yeah,
for
maybe a.
oh,
Oh, go ahead.
Schnabel and AL pick?
Oh yeah. I mean AL. I mean it was Trout. I like Trout, but he's got to get that average up a little bit.
Mhm.
Yeah, I like Trout, and Soto is probably pretty clear cut right now. He's been one of my favorite players the last couple of years. I love I'm a big get on base guy, and there's no one better than him.
Same, man. Same.
So he like that's one of the basic factors of hitting is getting on base, and no one does it better than Soto. So he's got to be my pick in AL.
Do you think team performance should play an impact in the MVP race, or
No, I don't think so.
I do think it should a little bit. A little
Oh,
bit.
we forgot one guy. Speak of team performance, Altuve right
Oh
now.
yeah,
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 that's true. That's a good point.
he's
I mean,
been
you could put it in there
raking.
a little bit with team performance, but I just feel like it's such an individual award. Um, but then it is all like it is a team sport, so I guess you got to factor in a little bit. But I don't know how
so
exactly
like
how much you do
if
it.
the Royals fell off, would you consider a guy like Bobby Witt?
Yeah.
If he keeps putting up numbers like he is, I mean, he's hitting the ball. He's been incredible early. If he continues putting up numbers, then yeah, I have seen no issue putting him into an MVP candidacy.
So I'm going to throw a couple names out there that weren't mentioned just because I think they deserve to be in the conversation. And I'm going to throw in Josh Naylor for the Guardians.
Yeah.
I think without him, that lineup, it has J Ram in it, but honestly, Naylor's kind of the heartbeat of the team.
Stevie Kwan.
And then for the NL, Ellie De La Cruz was putting up ridiculous numbers in the
He hit
first
clean.
month. And honestly, he can get a lot better. He still strikes out a lot. So
Yeah.
the fact he has 7 home runs, hitting 295, has over 1,000 OPS,
Mm.
double-digit steals in the first month of the season is kind of ridiculous. But
He's nasty, man.
they
any
jump around the
last
lineup too,
comments?
which is cool.
We're
I
running
was
out
gonna
of
say,
time, so
oh yeah,
Yeah, I love De La Cruz, one of the best players in the league right now, man. Stud.
Let's add in Ozuna from the Braves also. He'll fall
I'm
off
Ozuna from the
though.
Brave.
yeah, all right. He
can't
deserves.
ignore his power.
Not a big
20,
fan.
28
All right,
RBIs right
Yeah,
now.
not a big
we're
fan.
gonna head off and log out.